All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. This is the heart, the very beating heart of the book, The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. And the heart of the fictional religion that lies in that book, which is called Earthseed. These words have been used in theology classes, mirrored in new philosophies, and demonstrated in disciplines worldwide, from Adrienne Marie Brown's Emergent Strategy to Monica Coleman's works on process theology. These phrases are, in essence, a kind of process theology. These words hold such a powerful truth, and yet they are found in the pages of a science fiction novel. Learning more about the author, Octavia Butler, and the protagonists of our novel, Lauren Oya Olamina, we gain a lot of wisdom into how this story showcases and demonstrates truths that are very near and dear to our heart, especially around change. So bear with me as I take you on a journey through Octavia Butler and this novel. Octavia E. Butler is one of the certainly most renowned and also pretty much the first Black woman science fiction writer in the United States. Probably not the first, but at least the first awarded one. In fact, growing up, she discovered a love of reading and writing. Her teachers told her she couldn't possibly be a sci-fi writer because she was Black. Well, she would spend the rest of her career proving them wrong and become one of the most renowned science fiction writers to this day. She's associated with the Afrofuturist genre, a genre that blends science fiction with African American spirituality and culture. And she is the inspiration for several Black women novelists who are current, such as N.K. Jemisin, and as we mentioned, Adrienne Marie Brown, especially in her book and work, Octavia's Brood, which is all about social justice, people imagining new worlds. Octavia's own biography said the following, quote, "Who am I? I'm a 47-year-old writer who can remember being a 10-year-old writer and who expects someday to be an 81-year-old writer. I am also comfortably a social, a hermit, a pessimist if I'm not careful, a feminist, a Black person, a former Baptist, an oil and water combination of ambition, laziness, insecurity, certainty, and drive." And gives you a good sense of who she is. This oil and water combination strikes a very similar tone in the protagonist of the book, The Parable of the Sower, Lauren Oya Olamina. She is born in this novel in a dystopian future America, experiencing its own kind of apocalypse. She lives in a small neighborhood in California that has been boarded up with walls for protection, as nearly every neighborhood is. There is an ongoing water shortage, environmental disasters, a complete infrastructure failure, and desperate crowds of hungry and poor people, which create a purge-like atmosphere of drugs and danger. Her Baptist father runs a small church out of his living room, trying to stay safe within their walled neighborhood. He wants Lauren to believe in his religion, but Lauren is asking a lot of questions about the nature of life, the nature of the world, and even the nature of God. She believes in a different God. She believes that God is change. It is from this that she births a new religion that she calls Earthseed. She pours her heart into her newly discovered truths and writes about it in her journal, some of which we just heard in our reading. She has a calling to discover more truth. She is a zealot for her newfound faith, and she's never satisfied with the casual getting by of her family. She knows the world is chaos, and she wants to be ready. She wants to learn how to survive. She believes more people need to read more books, need to learn more skills, need to adapt to more lessons and mistakes to be ready. And when her family and friends question her about what are you doing, she just tries to tell people, you should read, you should learn, we should research more plants that are edible, we should find new ways to live. Reverend Mia McLean is a senior minister of Riverside Baptist Church in D.C. and inspired me to preach on this topic myself in her sermon on the book. And she says, quote, "Lauren, she intends to survive. When the walls around her neighborhood inevitably burn away, as she predicted, her house and homes are burned and ransacked by mobs, Lauren grabs her emergency pack she's been planning and strikes out on her own. She spends the rest of the novel darting danger and catastrophe, surviving unimaginably harsh conditions, and yet along the way, she finds friends, builds a community, and spreads her new religion, Earthseed." The concepts around her faith are hard at times to digest, as our character learns fast when she talks to her Baptist father about what she thinks about God. And you don't have to believe what our protagonist in the book believes, that God is change. What I wanted to focus on is that her beliefs about change impact her responses to change. And seeing the difference between how she responds to change and how those around her does gives us a lot of wisdom and insight into how we can respond to change. Lauren is looking at her home and the ongoing changes in the American landscape of this dystopian novel. It's not the same as today, though there are a lot of parallels. She hears from her father and her stepmother. They miss the way that things used to be. They remember the big city lights, when everyone had water and access to food, the life they used to have when the country was more stable. They see the ways other neighborhoods around them have fallen down to harm, and so what do? They wall themselves in, they hunker down. They keep talking about how it'll go back to the way it was. They just want to get through this, right? We're just going to get through this, day by day. They're hoping to elect someone who will bring America back to the way it was. And in the end, they don't really even bother to vote. They're just kind of hoping that things will go back. They can't possibly last this long. Lauren, however, doesn't know the country her parents are talking about. She's only ever known a country in a world that is literally in shambles. And the ways that her parents are surviving doesn't feel like the kind of surviving she believes is going to be necessary. They aren't getting ready. They've seen other neighborhoods get ransacked and destroyed. They've seen environmental damages, but her family isn't doing anything to prepare for that. Lauren reflects on that perspective in the reading we just shared, right? She says that when people try to reckon with the truth of change, they create or they want to create a super person, a super cop or a super king, or someone who, as she says, quote, "our own personal gods to stand between us and God," end quote. Something or someone to stand between everyday people and the change that is coming. And she notices the ways that her family and others react to change as either fear, dismissal, or trying to get someone or something else to deal with it. That's not what she's doing. Meanwhile, she is trying to read any book that she can possibly get her hands on. She's trying to learn anything that she can, just in case. She is burying extra food. She's preparing an emergency sack with supplies. She's learning how to hunt for the first time. She is getting ready. And she tries to tell her friends and family, please get ready with me. Let's stick together. Let's watch out for each other. Let's prepare for change. Maybe in our world today, we would see this kind of preparation as like a doomsday prepper, wondering if this level of obsession is healthy. But I don't want you to mistake what she's doing for some kind of fear or anxiety, because it's actually not that. Yes, she's motivated by fear, maybe, and by what she sees in her reality, but actually it's hope and faith that is driving her to do this. There's actually happiness and joy and optimism in the getting ready, because she knows whatever her parents have settled for, this isn't it. Whatever country they spoke of that used to be, that's not it either. She knows that a better world is possible. She knows that there can be growth, there can be more resources, there can be a better way of living. And she is determined to get it. As Reverend Michelle McLean said in her sermon, quote, "She is not going to let anyone take the possibility of her life away from her." End quote. For anyone who wants to read this book, reading it right now, weeks away from the election, is not for the faint of heart. In fact, this post-apocalyptic America that Octavia Butler wrote about in 1997 is set in, 2024. The first journal entry is in 2024. Yeah, the irony is not lost on me, okay? And we don't have it as bad as the book proclaims it to be, a dystopian future as she's predicting, but there are some things that resonate. We're facing some environmental disasters in our own time. We're facing a lot of rampant misinformation. We're facing a lot of losing infrastructure, things that we thought we could rely on, everything from the roads we drive on to the electricity that's pumped in our houses. We're facing an interesting amount of ways that our leaders are talking about our problems. And we find ourselves yet again in another election cycle, preparing for what might happen come November. And we have a choice of how we prepare for whatever might face us. Overwhelmed by the choices of our world, we may wish for any one singular elected official to be that super person that stands between us and the waves of change. In fact, all of our elected officials are acting as if they are the only ones who can stop the madness of our world, though they define what that madness is a little differently. We could step back and not really participate and let other people vote or dictate, make the shape of the changes that happen. Or we could be like Lauren and prepare for change. We can shape change. We can shape our future. We can shape it by helping our neighbors and friends and ourselves make a plan to vote. We can prepare for change by willing to talk about our values with the people around us. We can prepare by sharing our vision of the world as we know it could be. But please know that the work of our community, the work of facing the changes of our times, is bigger than any one election cycle. There is no super person, even when, hopefully, we get the peoples that we might want to be in office. As I said in our water communion service all the way back in August, takes all of us to heal us and to heal our world. And part of the way we do that is by getting ready. So let's get ready. Let's get ready. Let's show up for our neighbors. Let's learn more about how we discover truth, especially in this world. Let's actually find out how to research things and question things in a world where the AI in Google cannot tell the difference between the truth and the most reposted lie. Can we please find a way to dispel the misinformation that is rampant in our culture? Can we prepare for change by not being satisfied with what is, by knowing that our unions can advocate for people to have better wages and better ways of living? Can we prepare for change by not being satisfied with the health care we have, but actually demand for more choices? Can we prepare for change by getting ourselves ready? It is not the time to dissolve into hopelessness, anxiety, or despair. In fact, as crazy as it may seem, this may actually be a time for hope. The preparing for the change, the getting ready can be the energy that sends us into the better future that can come. Our Unitarian Universalist values have principles that resonate with Lauren's vision. We believe in the free and responsible search for truth. We believe it's important to question and to find the truth. We also believe in the power of transformation and changing and evolving as faith movement and as individuals. And we believe in the vision of the world as it could become. We know that despite the cycles of fear and devastation, the arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. And that justice, that is a future that is shaped by all of us. We gather together as a community every Sunday to practice it. This is part of what we do. We practice what the world could be, a world centered on love. We are getting ready. As we continue, no matter what happens in the next week, in the next 3 weeks, in the next 6 months, in the next 5 years, we can always prepare for, react to, and shape our future. We can prepare for change so that a beloved community we know is possible can finally be the world attained. Let's get ready, everybody.